to the show. This the MMA fortune teller. Yeah.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.
What is up, you guys? We are hitting up the recap of UFC 281, which means we're going to be doing some matchmaking. We're going to be talking about some of the official plays and bets that we targeted for this fight card. And we'll also talk about how we did from an overall pick standpoint as well. For those of you guys that have been following me on Instagram, you guys know that I felt that this was a very exciting fight card. Obviously, on paper it was, but it really delivered just straight up from an action standpoint. So I really felt like it was a fun card, and I had a great time this past Saturday. Now, real quick, I do want to mention UFC 281 kicked my ass as far as the betting goes. We're going to be talking about the 4 official plays that I targeted, but it will make me feel a little bit better to say this. First and foremost, you guys know I was not able to get the recap of last weekend's fight card out to you of Amanda Lemos and Marina Rodriguez. I am happy to say that was another profitable event, which going into UFC 281, we had hit 6 of our last 7 official plays. The 3 plays I targeted was a parlay of Grant Dawson and Miranda Maverick. Caught that early at -143, threw 5 units on that. I also targeted Neil Magny straight up against D-Rod. Grabbed that at -120, threw 3 units at it. And my lone loss was Nate Maness against Hager Ulenbekov. I threw 1 unit at that. Caught it at +160 odds, threw that underdog stab there. Obviously, it didn't come through, but overall, that was another profitable event. All right, and then also, before we talk about the ass whooping I took for UFC 281, I also am happy to say that going into UFC 281, currently at that time, I was 74.44 units of profit up to date. So we're going to subtract about 5 units or so from UFC 281. We're still up 69 units. How do you guys like that one? 69 on the year. It's another profitable year. It's going to be another profitable year no matter how we end the last month and a half of the year. So I'm very happy to say that. Of course, you guys know I'll be putting out a whole entire video about the year's results. But yeah, UFC 281, it did get me a little bit. Now, our biggest play did cash. We'll get to that. But the other 3 got me pretty good. So they just want to clear that up. Now, the first fight was Carlos Ulberg versus Nikolai Negumereanu. You guys know that this fight was very up in the air as far as I was concerned. It could have went either way. I took the toughness of Nikolai here from a pick perspective. I said, yeah, give me Nikolai, and he's shown to be very tough. He was in a nice win streak. Carlos Ulberg obviously has the attributes. He's very long rangey. He's a very skilled striker. He just needs to refine a few things, and he has all the talent in the world as far as fighting in the light heavyweight division. I'm very excited to see where he goes after this big knockout victory. If you want to talk about some of the performances that were somewhat questionable, obviously the knockout loss that he had in his UFC debut against Kennedy Nzechukwu, the way he kind of broke down, and then the Fabio Sharon fight where he was kind of hesitant. Those were some lackluster performances, but he went in there against Stefan Nzechukwu. He got made quick work of him, and then he does it again at UFC 281 this past Saturday. So now, he really has some momentum behind him. I'm excited to see who Carlos Ulberg fights next. And as far as matching him up right here, let's go take a look at the light heavyweight division. So right now we have Carlos Ulberg. I believe he's ranked at 26th in the worldwide rankings as far as Tapology is concerned, which there's a fight that stands out to me right away. I'm not even going to look too far into it. Alonzo Menefield, he's on a 2-fight winning streak. He's been really doing his thing. He's won 4 of his last 5 fights. The only loss was that one to William Knight. That was the questionable performance by him. I think it was just an off night. He's really been putting things together. He can strike as well. He has that big time power. I would love to see Carlos Ulberg versus Alonzo Menefield. And if you don't want to give him Alonzo Menefield, I'll give you a backup fight. If you want to jump Ulberg up towards the top of the list, maybe you throw him in there with Khalil Roundtree, striker versus striker. That'd be an exciting matchup as well. Or depending on how you want to handle that, because a lot of people felt Dustin Jacoby won that fight against Khalil. So it's not really a loss there. When you look at that Khalil Roundtree loss in quotations. So maybe you match him up with Dustin Jacoby, Carlos Ulberg versus Jacoby, two excellent kickboxers. Those would be the backup fights if you want to put Ulberg on the fast track there. So Montel Jackson defeats Julio Arce. He was mixing things up. It was great to see Montel Jackson back in the cage. You guys know I feel that he has a lot of potential. Everyone talks about the size of his hands, him having the same size hands as Francis Ngannou in the bantamweight division. That's crazy. Montel Jackson's a good striker. He's a good wrestler. He does everything pretty well. He's a real athlete, and I'm excited to see who he's going to be fighting next. We can go slide over to the bantamweight division, and we can do some matchmaking for Montel as well. I'm very excited to talk about some matchmaking towards the top of this card. But Montel Jackson has not been that active, if you guys remember. So let's scroll down here. Montel Jackson also was ranked 26 in his respective division. I'm gonna say we jump him up. We start getting Montel Jackson mixed up towards the top 20, top 15 of the division. Would love to see him against Umar Nurmagomedov. Would absolutely love to see that fight. Two very skilled fighters coming from different types of backgrounds. I would love to see that fight. Two guys that have respected names, people that really know about Montel Jackson, know that he brings a lot of talent into the cage. I think that's the fight that I would like to see. Other than that, if you want to match him up with Adrian Yanez, I have no problem with that as well. Adrian Yanez versus Montel Jackson would be a great fight too. But I really would love to see the Nurmagomedov versus Montel Jackson fight, which obviously it might be a tough time for Montel there. Maybe I'd rather see the Adrian Yanez. I think it'd be a little bit more competitive. Let's go that route instead. Mike Trizano, friend of the show. We had him on MMA Live Discussion. He cost me some money here. We had a 2.5 unit play on Sang-Woo Choi. You guys know I've been very impressed with some of the striking skills that Choi has showcased in the cage. I love the toughness he showed in his last fight going into the Trizano fight. Now this fight, if you guys missed out on this fight, you have to run the tape back on this fight. These guys went at it. Both of them knocked each other down with left hooks right away. They were both slinging left hooks nonstop. You could tell once the fight was picking up that somebody was going to be put out here. I was hoping Choi was going to knock out Trizano, but right at the end of the first round, Trizano hits him with that left hook and finished him up there. So props to Trizano. I am happy for him as far as the fact that he's a very good dude. But obviously, I wasn't happy to lose that money there, and that's a tough loss for Choi because although he's extremely talented, he's running into some trouble here. So, Mike Trizano. Who do you want to match up Trizano with next? Let's go take a look at where Trizano is in the featherweight division. We know he's very tough. Now he's showing to be a little bit more refined with his skills as far as the striking goes. That was a big victory for him there. Then we're going to have to scroll back a little bit here. Let's see. Where were we finding Trizano, man? He's way back in this division, the very stacked featherweight division. You see Choi is ranked 37. Trizano is ranked 40. So we're going to give Trizano a little bit of a jump up here. We're going to start looking well ahead. That was a big-time performance by him, delivered on a big-time card. People are going to start talking about him a little bit more, start respecting his name a little bit more so. We know Burgos is out of the UFC. We can't match him up with Zabaro Tukigov. We know he doesn't stay active. Ryan Hall hasn't fought this year. I don't know if he's expecting to come back anytime soon. Hakeem Dawodu coming off that loss against Julian Erosa, and he had that victory over Mike Trizano the fight before that, so that ain't going to happen. We ain't seen a rematch there. It's going to be tough to find Trizano some action, if we're being honest here. Damon Jackson, now that might be a little bit of a step up, right? Jackson's been doing his thing, coming off the big victory over Pat Sabatini. Now that's way up the list. But you know what? I wouldn't be necessarily shocked if that's the fight we see. There's not a lot of fights that stick out other than that. You got Andre Feely at 22. You could do that as well. Maybe a fight that makes a little bit more sense if we really want to put our thinking caps on would be the Nate Landwehr fight. Nate is coming off that big victory over David Onama. That's probably a fight that you would see more so. Let's match him up with Nate Landwehr. Now, we're going to be talking some more losses here. Karolina Kowalkiewicz takes out Silvana Gomez Juarez. You guys know I was on Juarez here. I thought that she was going to get the job done. Her striking has impressed me. I know she has holes in her game from a grappling perspective, but she has really shown some skills in the feet. Even in the fight that she got submitted by Vanessa Demopoulos, she starched her early, dropped her, and then in her last fight she had a big time finish. She shows to have finishing power on the feet. We've seen Karolina Kowalkiewicz look slow on the feet over the last couple of years and eat a lot of shots. I thought Silvana was going to tee off, and that was not the case. And I think that was partly due to the fact that Karolina got that early takedown and really had Silvana worried about being taken back down, and she wasn't able to showcase her striking like she has in the past. And but I want to give credit to Karolina, because Karolina, although she's up in age and she had some hiccups as of recently. She's been grinding over at American Top Team, and it seems that she's having a late resurgence in her career. So shout out to her. Cost me some money, but it is what it is, and I got to give respect where respect is due. Who do I want to see KK fight next? Currently, she's ranked 19th in the weight class. I wouldn't mind to see her fight Cheyenne Vlismas, to be quite honest with you. I know it's a little bit of a step back. I don't know if that's the route she wants to go, but I think the UFC would like to build a brand of Vlismas. We know that she's kind of a polarizing figure in women's mixed martial arts so far. I mean, with the limited amount of exposure that she's had, I think she has potential to be a big name in the game. Vlismas probably knocks out Carolina, but who knows? I would love to see that fight. I would love to target that fight and try to fade Carolina once again. I'm not completely sold. But if Carolina is going to hold tight and look to move up the rankings, I mean, who's Carolina going to fight next? I mean, she's fought in a lot of girls towards the top. Mackenzie Dern's coming off a loss. I mean, maybe you put her against Jan coming off the victory over Mackenzie Dern. She already has a victory over Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I don't know if they're going to give Carolina another opportunity at redemption there. That other fight happened about, 5 fights ago. I mean, if her management team can pull off some negotiations, but I say give her the Vlismas fight. That's the fight I want. I'm matching her up with Vlismas. She might not be happy about it. Her management team might not be happy about it. I want to see that fight. I think that Vlismas can land some big shots and make that fun, and she'll take out a big name in the game, and Vlismas will start to really get some exposure. Matt Frevola, another friend of the show that I didn't pick here. I did pick Atman Nazitar. Now, what's funny is when I picked Atman Nazitar, when I did my prediction video, if you guys remember, he was an underdog. At that current time, he was like a plus 135 underdog. The line moved like crazy on that fight. I saw him settle in on Bovada at like a minus 185 favorite over Matt Frevola. Matt Frevola ends up getting the knockout over him, so you could have got Matt Frevola at dog odds as that fight was kicking off. I'm very happy for Matt Frevola. It's great to see that his striking's coming around as well, because we know that he has the cardio and the wrestling and all that. We know he's a great dude. I'm happy for him. I still do worry about him fighting specific guys in the division that have very polished striking. I think that they could end up clipping him, but who am I to say something like that right now? Matt Frevola is doing his thing, and he's making some noise, and I'm very happy for him. I really am. No action mixed up in that fight, and hopefully, I know he follows me on IG, but hopefully he didn't see that I picked against him. Matt Frevola currently ranked 36th. A lot of fighters around here are matched up with some opponents. Look at Conor McGregor, ranked 32. Let's see, man. Matt Frevola, would love to see him fight Nasrat Haqparast, who's ranked a little bit above him. I think that's a great fight. Nasrat coming off a big win as well. I think that's a fight that they could definitely put together. Drakkar Klose coming off that victory over Rafa Garcia. I think that's another fight that makes a lot of sense. I want one of those two men for Matt Frevola next. I would like to see him versus Klose or Haqparast. Two guys that have respected names in the division. And Frevola, I think if he gets a victory over those guys, he continues to keep the momentum going. So Andre Petrovsky takes out Wellington Turman. This fight wasn't the most exciting fight, but Petrovsky dug deep and showed once again that he's a very tough, talented fighter. He has good wrestling. He's very physically fit, very physically strong. Dug deep with the wrestling, got some takedowns, showcased some strikes as well. Turman, a guy that was coming off some victories going into this fight, but a guy that you guys know I'm not extremely high on. You guys know I do feel the middleweight division is pretty shallow, so Petrovsky's next fight could really be a big one for him. So right now we have Petrovsky at let's see here. Well, Petrovsky is a little bit far back here, huh? Petrovsky, you better be in the top 50 here. Did I miss him? Excuse me real quick. Let's see where Petrovsky is. Petrovsky in the middleweight division. He is currently ranked 35. Sorry about that, guys. I did scroll over him. There he is right there. So you got Petrovsky at 35. You got Arman Petrosian, who's coming off that victory over AJ Dobson right behind him. I want to give Petrovsky a little bit of a step up in competition. I think with his wrestling, he can give some guys some problems in the top 15. And I would like to see him kind of fast tracked. He's not the youngest of fighters as well. I'm gonna scroll up a little bit here. You got guys like Makhmud Muradov ranked above him on a 2-fight losing skid. Bruno Silva on a 2-fight losing skid. Jocko coming off a loss as well. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez has been doing his thing, coming off the victory over Marc-Andre Barriault. wouldn't have a problem with that fight at all. Anthony Hernandez versus Petrovsky. I think that's a good fight there. And then if you want to give Petrovsky a big name fight for him to really prove himself, I think that you give him the Roman Dolidze fight. That's the fight I actually would like to see. I would like to see Roman Dolidze versus Petrovsky next. Two guys with powerful beards. That's the fight I want to see. They both have big time power, and that's the fight I want to see. I was gonna say Caio Bahayo as well as a possibility, but not really. I don't want to see that fight, to be quite honest. I want to see Caio go down a different path. I want to see Roman Dolidze. Aaron Blanchfield makes quick work of Molly McCann down on the mat. You guys know I call this. I'm a little upset with myself because I should have mixed this in with some action. I know that the line was high on her, but I should have maybe targeted the submission victory for Blanchfield there. I should have looked at a prop or something on the under, because I really was expecting dominance from Blanchfield down on the mat. Molly McCann has been showcasing her striking as of recently, but I definitely was not a believer that her ground game evolved to be anywhere near of the skill set of what we've seen from Erin as of recently. We know Erin's still very young, but I mean, the word has gotten out. I mean, people have been raving about what she does in the gym. Her grappling is very legit. And so I'm a little upset with myself. And there's another play that I'm going to be talking about in a second that I didn't jump on, that I'm very upset with myself as well. But Erin Blanchfield, I'm super excited to see where she goes from here. The way that she cranked on that arm was nasty. I mean, her ground game is just a serious issue for the division. It's a serious issue for the flyweight division, and she's a great addition to a very shallow division. We know that the women's flyweight division is not the most stacked. So, of course, the queen pin, Valentina Shevchenko, and then you got Santos right there as well, who just put on a very competitive fight with Shevchenko. But other than that, there's a couple fighters, but let's go find the very, very talented. Let's see here. Did I already pass her? Blanchfield. There she is. I'm sorry about that, guys. I'm sliding over some of these fighters. Erin Blanchfield, ranked 9. I mean, listen, I'll take Erin Blanchfield over a lot of girls in the top 10. Vivian Araujo, she's coming off a loss, so I don't think that's the fight that you're going to see next. Alexa Grasso on a 4-fight winning streak. She is looking for a fight right now. You got Manon Ferro as well in the mix. I think that you're going to see Blanchfield fight one of these two women right here, unless they get matched up. But these are the women that you want to see Blanchfield fight with next. And I think that she's a major issue for both of these fighters who are more striking-based fighters. I think Blanchfield's going to run through these girls. And I think that Blanchfield's going to find her way fighting for the belt in the next year or so. She's going to be on the fast track based on how shallow the division is there. So I'm excited to see that. Ryan Spahn gets the knockout over Dominic Reyes. I got a funny story for you guys. So I went out to the bar and was hanging out, having a good time, bumping into some random people, just mingling by myself, mingling with people at the bar. Ended up meeting this really cool dude who's just posted up watching the fights by himself as well. Cool dude from the Northeast, from New York, Long Island, and whatnot. He was a legit friend of Dominic Reyes. Showed me pictures, conversations, all that. I mean, he wasn't just some guy bullshitting. He was a legit friend of Dominic Reyes, and he was going out to watch his boy fight. And normally he's at Dominic Reyes' fights. He was showing me videos of him at the arenas, chilling with everybody, the whole crew of Dominic Reyes. You know that Dominic Reyes played football. I didn't know this, but he actually played football up in the Northeast. He came from the West Coast, played ball up there, and that's how he knew this dude that I met. From the whole football circle and whatnot. And, we were hyped up to watch Reyes fight, obviously, because that was his boy. I said, hey, I'll throw a little bit of money for fun. It was not an official play. You guys know I had some question marks about his chin going into this fight, but I threw some extra money on Reyes as well for fun, make it fun at the bar. You know what I mean? I'm a team player. Obviously, it cost me some money. And, listen, I knew that Spahn is surging right now, and we knew that Reyes is coming off 3 losses. The last 2 were very, very rough knockout losses for him. He was coming off a long layoff, and this was a very realistic possibility. So I was hoping that Reyes would use his speed from the outside, work the kicks from the outside, and get this fight to go to the later rounds, where I think that Spahn will start to slow down in the later rounds. But luckily for him, he's been starching guys early, so that hasn't been an issue for him. But that was the story there, man. And his boy was obviously devastated there. So they want him to retire. They want Reyes to retire at this point, and I don't blame him. So, yeah, Ryan Spahn gets the knockout there, and we got to slide over to the light heavyweight division where, again, we have a great addition when I say an addition, just obviously Spahn has been around the block for a long time, but an addition as far as working his way towards the top of the division where we can really see him participate in some big time fights. I like the way that this light heavyweight division is coming around as of right now. He was ranked 10th. I want to give him a big time fight in his next fight. You got Nikita Krylov, who's coming off the victory over Volkan Ozdemir, or you have Jamal Hill. I want to see him face Jamal Hill. You see some of the work that Hill's been putting in as of recently. That's the fight that I want to see. I think that they both slug it out on the feet. I think somebody probably gets knocked out. I love that fight. That's the fight that I want to see. I want to see Jamal Hill versus Ryan Spahn. Tell me what you guys think about that. All right. So after that, we had another loss here, a 1-unit stab on Brad Riddell at dog odds, plus 115 or so. I was kind of questioning where Renato Moicano would have been after that brutal beatdown from RDA. But obviously, I knew there was a realistic possibility he could have got this fight down to the mat and got the submission on Riddell. If you guys didn't see Riddell's post today on Instagram, he has retired from the sport of MMA and basically admitted that he wasn't even mentally in it, which would have been great to know. And I should have kind of saw the writing on the wall based on his last performance. I was hoping he was going to come in motivated with the whole team fighting on this card, all training together. I know Riddell has some real skills in the feet. You could see that he wasn't mentally there, man. He was so checked out. The way that he gave that sub up, and if you remember, he had his hands posted. He wasn't even fighting the wrists of Moicano. He was obviously mentally checked out, and I didn't know that. I didn't catch on to that early enough, and it cost me a unit. Big shout out to Moicano. Moicano, it's good to see him putting things together again because we know that he is a talented fighter, and we know that he did take that fight on short notice against RDA. It was just a way that he got beaten down that was a big question mark for me, in my opinion. That was a bad beatdown that he took, but now he gets the rebound victory. Maybe you throw him in there with Jalen Turner. We know that they both fought on that same card. Jalen Turner's last fight where he had the victory over Brad Riddell. Both of them coming off victories over Brad Riddell. I think that that's a fight that you want to see next. I think that that's the fight to make. I mean, those are two things that really point to those guys clashing. And I will be edging Turner in that fight. I think that Turner will get the better of Moicano. I think he'll keep the fight standing and he'll probably knock Moicano out. All right, so I'm cutting to the chase there, man. Dan Hooker gets back in the victory column, gets the victory over Claudio Puelles. I was very happy to see this. You guys know I was rocking with Dan Hooker here. No official action. I was very close to doing it, but I did not. Was fighting that knee bar earlier. This was a major step up in competition for Puelles, even though he's looked so promising. As long as Brad Riddell wasn't taking a major jump off a cliff with some of the damage that he's taken as of recently, some of the knockout losses, if he rebounded from a health perspective, we were going to see him start to showcase his striking and the skills that he possesses against a guy like Puelles, who's not necessarily proven at this point, and that's what happened. So this was a very fun fight for me to watch. I was chasing some money, so yes, I did have some money on Hooker, but it was not an official play. And let's go take a look. Where is Dan Hooker these days, right? Dan Hooker coming off some tough losses. We know that he dropped down in weight. Where do they have him ranked in the lightweight division? Because I think this is really going to throw him right back in the mix of the lightweight division here. And real quick, we'll just slide over here, click on Dan Hooker, and you will see that he is ranked 22nd in the lightweight division. You see Dan the Hangman Hooker. We're definitely taking a look towards the top right now. You see Grant Dawson sitting right there, coming off a big-time victory. That's a fight that stands out to me. And then you got Renato Moicano, who we just talked about. If you're not crazy about the matchups that I just said from Moicano, or the matchup I said of Moicano and Turner, which I think makes a lot of sense, I think that you could also match up Moicano against Hooker. Two guys that are coming off the same fight card. That makes a lot of sense in my opinion too. So that's the route I would go there. You got a couple options. Chris Gutierrez gets the knockout over Frankie Edgar. This was the fight that I'm really kicking myself for not targeting. You guys know I was very confident that Gutierrez was going to get this knockout. I wanted to root for my boy Frankie here. I wanted Frankie to get that last victory in the cage in his retirement fight. And I should have kept the business, and I should have took Gutierrez to get the knockout because I felt very confident it was going to happen. I told everybody at the bar, watch this. He's going to get knocked out any second. Boom, it happened. Chris Gutierrez is a sharpshooter. Frankie Edgar has been taking so much damage as of recently. And Chris Gutierrez, I am happy for him, although I was very upset to see Frankie go out like that, but Frankie turns the page to another chapter in his life. Chris Gutierrez, there's a lot of fun fights that you can put together with Chris Gutierrez. Ricky Simone ranked right above him. Two guys that bring it. Then a fight that makes a lot of sense to me. Ricky Simone stands out right away, right from the get-go, and that is the fight that I'm going to want to see. I don't think that he's necessarily ready for some of these big names, the Merabs or the Marlon Cheetos. I think he needs to prove himself a little bit more. I think you put him in there with Simone and see if he can get the job done there. So we finally got a W on the card here. My biggest play of the event, a 5-unit play on Dustin Poirier to defeat Michael Chandler. An instant classic. Not like none of us didn't know that it was going to play out like this. We knew these guys were going to clash. Poirier almost getting the knockout at the end of the first round against Chandler. Chandler rebounding in the second round, using his wrestling, blowing blood snot all over Poirier's face, sticking his fingers in his mouth and his eyes. It was a fun fight. Eventually, it came down to the third round. Whoever was going to get that round was going to take the fight. DP goes out there and gets the finish over Chandler, puts him in that rear naked choke. Again, Chandler in the second round had some opportunities to pull off that rear naked choke. He couldn't do it. You see there's a different level of skill set. Poirier, in my opinion, is just a more refined fighter. Chandler is a crazy athlete. He has some serious power, but he's lacking in some fields when you're comparing him to the top fighters in the world in the division. DP, he's there, man. He just needs to maybe work on his wrestling a little bit more so, but his BJJ is legit. His striking is so accurate. Again, run the tape back in the end of that first round, and he was about 5-10 seconds away from finishing Chandler there. So this was a play that I was targeting. I felt very confident in. It cashes, and it was great to redeem some units there. DP. Who is DP fighting next? I am excited to talk about this because we're talking the cream of the crop in the lightweight division. All right, so Dustin Poirier currently ranked 3rd in the division. Now, he just lost to Charles Oliveira. Probably not going to see that fight. You got Dariush right in the mix. Dariush is making some noise to work his way into a title fight. We know Makhachev is fighting Alexander Volkanovski. So there's definitely a fight that stands out to me, and I think you guys would all agree that if Poirier is up for it, I think the fight to make here has got to be Beneil Dariush. Beneil Dariush has proven himself at this point. He needs to get a victory over a big name. If he was able to go out there and take out DP, he's fighting for the belt next. And in fact, I think that fight is a title eliminator regardless. I think that if DP goes out there and finishes Dariush, he's fighting for the belt again as well. So, I mean, he's in a great spot right now. Poirier versus Beneil Dariush, title eliminator in the lightweight division. You got to be excited about that there. All right. And then we had, as I like to call her, Weili Zhang. I know I'm not the best at pronouncing her name, and they're always mixing it up on the telecast. They're calling her, they're pronouncing it all different types of ways. They're putting the last name before the first name. I know that they do it like that over in China, so there's always something going on with the name. But whenever I stare at her name here in Tapology, I can't help but just say Weili Zhang. But I know, sorry that it gets some of you guys upset, but she is an absolute beast. She goes out there. She had Carla Esparza in that crucifix for a long time in the fight. Early in the first round, she was doing some damage there. Carla had some moments. Carla showed that she's tough. But again, in the second round, she gets her back in that position and ends up pulling off the submission from there. It was beautiful to watch. Zhang is such a beast. She really is such a beast. She's so talented, and she's deserving of being the champion of the UFC's strawweight division. So, I mean, I know that she's fallen short in some fights. She got caught by Rose, whatever, but I think when she puts it all together, she is the most talented fighter in the division. So I'm excited to see her holding that belt and see if somebody can really go out there and really dethrone her. Not to take anything away from Rose. Again, Rose knocked her out, and then, Rose beat her again, right? So, I mean, it's like, I don't want to take anything away from Rose, but maybe, I don't know. Is that the fight that's going to happen next? Let's go take a look. So in the women's strawweight division, you got Rose Namajunas right there at 3. Amanda Lemos is making some noise. I mean, that's some new blood. You got Jan as well in the mix coming off a victory. I mean, there's some new blood working their way up. Rose Namajunas coming off that boring loss to Carla Esparza. Maybe they run that fight back. I don't know if they're going to do that. Otherwise, Amanda Lemos gets the next shot. If Doug Rose is taking a break, I think that Amanda Lemos has to get the shot, right? I mean, that's what it is. That's what's going to happen. And I think that Zhang will probably pull a sub off on her or something. But Lemos has been looking good, and Lemos is a dangerous striker. But it's going to be hard to pick anybody against Zhang. As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to be rolling with her probably against anybody, even Doug Rose in the rematch. So, and that takes us to the main event. Let's see here. Excuse me. Alex Pereira gets the 5th round knockout over Israel Adesanya. You guys know I picked Alex to win this fight. It was an extremely close fight. Izzy was up on the scorecards. If he didn't get finished, he was up. At that point in time, he had taken 3 rounds. Alex had taken 1. Alex was on his way to taking another round here. And even if he didn't get the finish, it was going to be a 10-8 round. I mean, from the damage he was already putting off there, it would have been a draw if Izzy was able to survive the onslaught. Some people thought that the finish came a little bit early. I understand kind of what you guys are saying, but I disagree at the same time. Run the tape back. I mean, Izzy was looking down at the floor. He was wobbling. His eyes were rolling around. I mean, he was taking a lot of shots, and at that point in time, Mark Goddard felt that it was necessary to stop the fight. So, I mean, can't argue with that. But I know for you Izzy fans, that'd be tough. You want to see him go out in his shield. I respect that, and I understand that too. When I'm watching my favorite fighter starting to get beat down and hurt, I want to see him have every chance to survive that onslaught, because obviously there's major implications. If he's able to survive, goes on to a draw, he still retains the belt. I mean, there's just big implications on that decision. But I challenge you guys to run the tape back on that and really look at how Izzy's face looked right as that fight was stopped. I mean, he was literally like a zombie looking down at the mat, and then all of a sudden he kind of rebounded. But I mean, I think he was going out, and if the fight wasn't stopped, again, it's just, I mean, you were assuming what would have happened, but I think Pereira would have continued to land some big shots. I mean, that guy is a sniper, and he's such an exciting champion. I'm so excited to see him represent the UFC from a champion perspective, from that standpoint of holding the belt. Of course, you guys know where we're going with his next fight. I mean, you guys let me know if you agree or disagree. I think that we have to go with the automatic rematch. I mean, if there's a fighter that's deserved that, it's got to be Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya has been going in there, taking on everybody in the division. It's his first loss in the middleweight division. His only other loss was up a weight class to the champ, Jan Blachowicz. I want to say this as well. You guys know I haven't always been the biggest Izzy fan from some things that he does outside the cage, but some things I like about him. Sometimes he's cool, but sometimes he's a little not my cup of tea. You guys know that. The way that Israel Adesanya handled himself with this loss, I can't think of another fighter that lost a big-time fight like this that handled himself in a better way. I gained a lot of respect for Izzy. He's a class act. He's very mentally tough. The way he was just bowing, waving at the fans, the way that he handled the press conference. I mean, he's a G in that perspective. I really do believe that. So I gained a lot of respect for Adesanya after seeing the way he took this loss. So now I was at the bar for this knockout, and we were going crazy. People were jumping on tables. I was dapping it up with strangers. We were going crazy because it was just such an exciting way to see the fight end. We knew that Pereira was going to lose that decision again if he didn't start to pick it up. You heard what the coaches in his corner said too. It was crazy. They motivated him to go out there and get the finish. He went out there and he did it. It was straight out of a movie. And again, some of you guys probably had a blast watching this, and I know that there was a lot of you guys that were really upset and hurt, because I know how it goes to watch one of your favorite fighters in the game go down like that. You know, one of the top fighters in the game, a champion like Izzy. It's tough to watch your guy go out like that. So I know that feeling, and I feel for you guys there. But just understand this: that rematch is going to be on the horizon. It has to be. If for whatever reason that fight doesn't happen, I mean, there's really nobody even to take on Pereira next. And I mean, I'm sure Pereira wants to stay active. He's not that young. He's going to make some money now, defending the belt. I mean, the Izzy fight is where it's at. I mean, you could have said maybe Robert Whittaker gets a title shot, but he's already booked with Costa. So unless things get shaken up and something happens with Izzy, that's the fight you're going to be seeing next. You're going to be seeing the rematch here. And I guess I'm going to have to be picking Pereira again, because Pereira's 3-0 against Izzy. He's only going to be better the next time around. And we did something nice there. We called Pereira. No official action there. Did not target that fight as far as betting goes. But what a main event that fight delivered. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up the recap of UFC 281. I hope it was a profitable one for you guys out there. Like I said, it wasn't my best card, but overall, we've been doing just fine. And you guys know I'm going to be rebounding in a beautiful way this upcoming Saturday. So you guys know how I rebound off losing cards. I have a great track record. I get very motivated, and I make sure that I don't leave any stone unturned for the next card. I'm going to be making some profits on this upcoming Saturday's fight card between Derek Lewis and Sergey there. So excited for that fight card. You guys can expect the breakdown of that fight card to be uploaded here very soon as well. Thanks for tuning in. Signing out. Teller.
Welcome to the show. This the MMA fortune teller. Yeah.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.